Good morning and thanks for joining us for this episode of Communication Connection. I'm Victoria Bailey, a broadcast digital journalism instructor here in our department, sitting in for Dr. Terry Likes. And this morning we have a very exciting interview and exciting guest, Mr. David Hintz. He is a senior theater department major and he's here to talk all things theater. Thank you so much for joining me, David.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, so let's dive right into it. Talk a little bit about what sparked your interest in theater in general.
So theater's been a part of my life as long as I can remember. My mom met my dad in the theater department at Mississippi State when they went to school here, and she graduated with a degree in theater, and so she has been directing local community shows and stuff ever since I can remember when I was young. So I started acting in some Tennessee Williams plays in Columbus, and doing some children's theater here and there around. We didn't have a high school theater program, but I knew when I got to Mississippi State that this was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't originally my major, but I found out that there was nothing else I'd rather do with the rest of my life.
Absolutely, yes, sir. And so that kind of springboards me into the next question. As a reporter, I have reporters and anchors that I look up to. Talk about some professionals in your industry that you look up to.
Yeah, so I look to a lot of comedians because I'm super comedy focused. Matt Rife is a stand-up comedian that I have been enjoying a lot lately. I also I do improv and some improvisational theater, and some current improvisers that I've really been taking a note of are like Jess McKenna and Zach Reno from Dropout, and Ben Schwartz and Thomas Middleditch. They just had a Netflix special come out in the past few years.
Yeah, exactly. And so kind of talking about that, looking forward to the future and like graduation as a senior, I'm sure you're excited. Talk a little bit about your career plans.
Yep, so I've still got one more year. I'm gonna graduate in May 25. And then after that, I am hopefully gonna have a summer stock job in theater. That's super common, and then go right into some year-round work. So the future plans for me right now, grad school is definitely there. I'm not sure when or where. With theater, you don't have to go right into grad school. You can work professionally for several years and then go into it. And if that's what ends up happening, then I'll be totally comfortable with that. The direction I go in, I'm not super sure in right now. I'm getting a super general theater education. At Mississippi State, I've learned about everything. Lights and sound. I'm stage managing right now. I directed earlier this semester, and I act, I do improv. So I could really go in any direction with it, and I don't want to limit my options for sure.
And so just speaking about that, we have a few photos of just some of the things, events, performances that you've participated in. So can we talk a little bit about them as we pull them up now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so this is me and my best friend and business partner, Ryan Bergman, at our first ever professional improv show. That was a really big moment for the two of us, for getting paid to do improv. Mm-hmm. Not many people I know of get paid to do some make-believe with their friends. This is just me. This is one of my favorite photos of me, yep. This is me and Ryan Bergman again doing a lighting design for Theater MSU last spring. And this is the cast of Puffs, the production that we're putting on right now. I just happened to grab this as we were going over choreography one day during rehearsal. This is a still from one of the performances of Pants on Fire. It's an improvised children's musical that I got to co-direct with my friend Ryan Bergman earlier this year with Theater MSU. It was the first time that this show has ever been produced outside of Creede, Colorado. So it was a regional premiere, and it was super fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this is me in Creede, Colorado, where that show was originally done. I was working as a scenic carpenter over the summer, and it really opened my eye to the world of professional theater and what it'll look like once I do graduate. This is me assistant stage managing for Macbeth last spring with Theater MSU. This is where I got the chance to learn about what the stage management process looks like to really prepare me for what I'm doing now.
Absolutely. And so as you start moving into what you hope to do in the future, you mentioned improv is a large part of what you plan to do. When I think of improv, I think of Whose Line Is It Anyway, shows like that, Wild and Out. Can you talk a little bit about how important it is to still have that educational aspect while learning that craft?
Yeah, for sure. So my first exposure to improv was actually Lab Rats comedy here at Mississippi State. I was probably about 14 or so, and my older sisters both went to Mississippi State and were active in the theater department, and they had friends who were in Lab Rats, and they brought me along to one of the shows, and I got to watch it and see just some of the funniest stuff that I've ever seen, and I could really see myself on that stage and doing that. And so when I got to Mississippi State my first semester, I auditioned for Lab Rats, and I got in, and it changed my world. So I've definitely, since getting into Lab Rats and exploring this new world of improv, I've seen Whose Line Is It Anyways, I've seen Middle Ditch and Schwartz, Wild and Out, all of these improv shows, and kind of taking inspiration from them and twisting that, fashioning it so that I can learn and grow from that, because I always just want to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And so some of the things that you have had an opportunity to work with the theater department included improv. Talk a little bit about your latest show. Talk a little bit about shows coming up.
Yeah, so right now I am stage managing for Puffs, otherwise known as 7 Increasingly Eventful Years at a Certain School of Magic and Magic. It is a parody show of a property I'm not allowed to talk about it on air, but
everything.
There's a certain boy who's got a lightning scar on his forehead. That's a well-known property about wizards, but it's not about him. It's that story retold from the perspective of the Puffs. It's a super fast-paced comedy, and the cast is having a lot of fun with it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Last night during rehearsal, we did a full run, and as the stage manager, it's my job to make sure that the lights are going to come on time and the sounds are going to come on time. And this show is so fast-paced. We've got a lot of spells being cast and magic happening all over, and all of that magic kind of ends up falling on my shoulders to make sure that happens. We got to make sure we've got birds popping out of magical places, that we've got things floating around and spells happening and the lights flashing with those. So it's been super fun and super challenging.
Awesome. And then that kind of brings me to the next point. What does it mean to you, just as a stage director, a director in general, someone who's really interested in this craft, what does it mean to you to get a show like this up and running?
It means so much. We have put a lot of work into the show over the past several weeks, and they've been putting a lot in with rehearsals. And this being my first time stage managing, I've learned so much throughout the process, not only about stage management, but about every other area. And that's really what I appreciate about our department, is you're not narrow focused. You get to see kind of everything. And as a stage manager now, I have been in the actor's shoes, I've been in the lighting designer's shoes and everything. So piecing it all together, I have been able to be the glue that holds all that together, and it's really rewarding.
Absolutely. And so talk a little bit about what folks can expect coming out of the theater department moving forward into the next school year and things to come.
Yeah, so we have auditions the week after Thanksgiving for 2 of our shows for next semester. The Wolves is an all-female show. It's about a soccer team, a collegiate soccer team, and that's going to be a really interesting show. It's intimate. It's a little bit more dramatic than something like Puffs. And then after that, the same week, we're having auditions for Pippin, our spring musical, and it's going to be really big. We're pairing, we're teaming up with the music department and coming together for that. We're going to have a full orchestra, and it's Theater MSU's 60th anniversary is why we're doing Pippin, because it's the first musical that we ever did. So we're kind of paying homage to that and revisiting that.
Perfect. And so talk a little bit about future theater majors and people interested in getting into this industry. What advice would you give them?
I would say try a little bit of everything. It's taken me a while to figure out exactly what I want to do in this field, but it's also great because there are so many things that you can do in this field. You don't have to be relegated to waking up and doing one thing every day. You can be a carpenter and an improviser and a stage manager and all of those things. And I prove that to myself every day.
And so do you have, I know you still have another year left, but do you have a favorite production thus far?
Yes, my favorite production that I've done so far was our first production of this semester. Was Pants on Fire, that improvised children's musical. It just brought together a lot of things that I was super passionate about, especially it being a children's show. I'm super passionate about theater for young audiences because that's how I was exposed to theater. And I think getting to expose children to not only theater, but good theater at a very young age can expose them to this whole new world and all the opportunities that come with that. And I think improv is really important with that as well, with children's theater, because children are improvising every day. And that's why I was super passionate about that show, because kids play make-believe, and if I've got a sword, then you've got a sword as well. And it's really fun to just play.
Absolutely. And so kind of talk a little bit about that. Just like you said, as kids, we have these great imaginations. Maybe channeling that and getting involved early on is probably really important in this industry.
Yes, for sure. I think the earlier that you can get involved in theater, the better. But I also know so many people who start doing their first theater productions in college with Theater MSU, and it's never too late to start. You can always start. I met some professional actors over the summer when I was working in Colorado who, one of them had been working as an accountant for about 10 years, and then he decided that he wanted to pursue professional acting because he was done doing his normal day-to-day, and he up and did it and was really successful with it. So it's never too late to start.
Perfect. Well, is there anything else you want to add about your time at Mississippi State, the theater department, anything coming up?
No, I'm super excited to see what else we have in store. I'm a part of Lab Rats Comedy, and that's been really propelling me forward these last few years, and I'm excited for the future, not only of that organization, but of Theater MSU, and getting to be as involved as I can in these next few years.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining us, and thank you guys for joining us as well. We'll see you next time.